Ωραία. Καλησπέρα σε όλους και από εδώ συνεχίζουμε με την τρίτη παρουσίαση της ημέρας, η οποία θα είναι στα αγγλικά. Θα προχωρήσω αμέσως στην παρουσίαση του επόμενου μας ομιλητή. So I'm switching to English now to welcome Aleksandar Savkovic to the online stage of WordPress Greece 2021. Welcome, Aleksandar.
Ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Great. Alexander can speak a few words in Greek, I presume, but the presentation will be in English, right?
More Skiladika songs I could do.
Okay, we can refrain from that for the time being. So I will leave the stage to Alexander, who is going to speak about KPIs versus having employees, as I understand it. And Alexander, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Takis. Yes, all, or hello to everyone. I know some Greek words because I used to be working for the biggest hosting company like a couple of years ago. Actually, not a couple of years ago, it's a year and a couple of months ago. And today I will speak about KPIs. Actually, my title was a bit great because it is important to have KPIs, of course, but my presentation will be more about how to set correctly those KPIs, how to keep your employees involved, all of that, and how to make them feel better about goals and how to judge all these KPIs and things that the most of employees very often don't understand in the best way possible. Let me just share my presentation. Yep. So no KPI is better than a good employee. What is the most important thing for today? We'll share some numbers. First of all, you will hear 0 famous people quotes in my presentation, which is always for me very important because I think that most of the speakers are using famous people quotes to support their opinion, and they always use only quotes that support their opinion. They never use famous people quotes against their opinion. So I will not use any famous people quotes. I will use between 1 and 10 bad words. I'm just joking about this one. If this was the live conference, of course, there will be some, but in this case, no, we will not have any bad words. And you will have half of one key takeaway, because I don't think that I'm that smart to share something so valuable that you have a full key takeaway for this presentation only in like 35 minutes or so. So let's start, because we have kind of a limited amount of time for this presentation. And I like to speak a lot, as you know, maybe from some of your conferences, or if you know me in person, then you know definitely that I speak a lot. So let's start from what is KPI. The first important thing for many employees, that trust me, more than 50% of them doesn't actually know what key performance indicator means, or KPI, what KPI actually means, and what is explanation, what is the meaning of abbreviation and of the whole phrase. It's actually a measurable value that demonstrates how effectively a company is achieving key business objective or big rock. This can be used in any industry. It's not only IT industry or some other. So every industry, every company can use KPIs, and they need to use actually KPIs to track achieving those goals or big rocks, which is actually something, the most important goal for that company in 1 year. So KPI is almost always unrealistic. Why is that so? Well, mostly because of someone's ambition and someone following bad practice. Because someone thinks that higher goals will motivate people, which is so not true. And organizations blindly adopt industry-recognized KPIs. It's like copy-pasting. Like you saw that someone else in the same industry as yours is doing something in some way, and then you think that it will work for you as well, but it's not. It's never like that. Every company needs to have specific KPIs, specific for their employees, specific for environment, specific for their clients and customers. So you cannot just copy paste someone else's KPI just because that other company that you're copy pasting from is actually successful. They're successful probably because they haven't copy pasted their KPI. First thing is defining a KPI. Here is one, let's say, like a quite simple example. You need to have like what is your desired outcome for that KPI. In this case, we will say like increase revenue by 10% is what we want to do this year, and that is our KPI. The second thing, the second question we need to give an answer to is achieving, why does this outcome matter? Achieving this target will allow the business to become profitable. So each thing, when we are defining a KPI, we need to ask ourselves a question and to provide clear answer that every employee can understand. The third question is how I'm to measure that progress. In this case, answer can be progress will be measured as an increase in revenue measured in dollars spent. Then next question is how can you influence the outcome? By hiring additional sales staff, by promoting existing customers to buy more product. So there are always some important questions that you need to have an answer to. Next question, very important, is who is responsible for the business outcome? If no one is responsible, actually, if everyone is responsible, then no one is responsible. So you need one person who is responsible for one KPI. In our case, it will be the chief sales officer because it's related to sales and increasing revenue. So the chief sales officer is responsible for this metric. Next question is how will you know you've achieved your outcome? By measuring, of course, revenue will have increased by 10% this year, and that is how we will know that we actually reached that KPI and goal that we set. The very important thing about measuring and evaluating anything is how often will you review progress towards that outcome. In this case, we said like, okay, we'll be reviewed on a monthly basis, so we can see if our revenue is growing each month by 1%. We can see that maybe before the end of the year, we will actually reach that goal of 10% of increase in revenue this year. There is one smart thing that you can do. It's to follow SMART criteria. There is a reason why it's called SMART, because it is smart, of course. And what does SMART stand for? The letters are typically taken to stand for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. In other words, let's chunk this down in smaller parts. For S, you should ask yourself, is your objective specific? What does it mean? It means that a KPI or objective for that year goal cannot be abstract. It needs to be really, really specific, because if it's not specific, maybe you will know what you want to achieve with your company, but your employees will be highly confused about what they need to do and why they are actually doing something to reach some goal that is not something they understand at the end. The second question you're asking yourself in SMART criteria is, can you measure progress towards that goal? So measuring progress and being on track with your goal and what are you doing to reach that goal, you can be on the track only if you can measure progress. If you cannot measure progress, in that case, you cannot track what is happening and you will not know if you reach the goal at the end. The third question you're asking yourself is something that I mentioned on my second slide, I believe. It's that the mostly KPIs are not realistic, and with SMART criteria, you should ask yourself, is the goal realistically attainable? Why? Because if you set the goal which is too high, and your employees see that they are failing, like from first month of the year or after quarter, they see that they're badly failing reaching that goal, it will demotivate the teams. It will not motivate them to do more or to do something, to achieve something that is not realistically attainable. So the goal has to be realistically attainable. Fourth thing is, how relevant is the goal to your organization? This is important because if goal is not that relevant to your organization, your employees will not understand why they're doing that. Maybe you have some deeper idea why that goal is so important for the organization and why it's relevant. But if it's not, your employees will fail understanding why they're doing what they're doing. And what is the time frame for achieving this goal? It's quite important to have like some time frame or time span for achieving the goal. It can be month, quarter, half a year, 3 quarters, the whole year, 2 years, but it should be definitely not longer than a year, because every company is sharing their financial reports, etc. So on a yearly basis, it's also important to have those.
Aleksandar, may I interrupt 1 second? Really sorry, we lost your presentation. Yeah, perhaps you could start it once again.
Oh yeah, I can, no worries. Yeah, no worries.
Thank you very much.
Oh, it says fail to publish screen share. Yeah. Is it sharing the
not
screen?
yet.
No.
I think we're having a poor connection from you, unfortunately.
Is it better?
Yeah, it started again. Let's see how it goes. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. No worries. Just interrupt me if you see that something. Don't worry. You know that even in live conference, I'm not too official, so especially in a live event, it can be even more friendly than live.
Of course.
Somehow in live events we are more. Smarter than smart. Sorry for this interruption. Maybe it was my Wi-Fi. I don't know. It shouldn't be, but it can happen, of course. It's technology. It's WordPress. Who knows? Okay, smarter than smart is actually what you can do smarter than you did when you ask yourself questions from the smart part. Smarter than smart is evaluate. What you need to do is evaluating what you're doing as often as possible. It weekly, bi-weekly, every day. you need to have a way to track something and to evaluate what you're doing. What is also important is to re-evaluate. What does it mean? It means if you exceeded, in example, if you exceeded your revenue target for the current year, you should determine if that's because you set your goal too low or if that's attributable to some other factor. So if you reach the goal like in October, you should see why you reached the goal in October. So if you set goal too low, or maybe something on the market changed in your benefit, so your company benefited a lot from some change in the market. What we could see last year, like the COVID year, let's call it like that, what we could see is that platforms like this for online conferences, conference calls, they probably have better growth than ever during their existence. But probably in December, when they were preparing KPIs for 2020, they probably had much lower KPIs than what they achieved in the first couple of months or first half of 2020. So you need to see if you set your goal too low or it was a realistic goal, but something happened in the meantime which actually helped your company grow faster. The same thing you need to do if you fail with reaching your KPIs and because you need to evaluate if that goal was too high objectively, too high, or something happened in that year which actually destroyed that industry, affected that industry in a bad way. We can take again example 2020, and no travel agency expected to have a year like that. So I believe every travel agency, ticket sellers, etc., plan to have a lot more travels, a lot more hotels, visits, stays, nights, etc., but they actually had a poor year. So you need to evaluate and re-evaluate what you did. How to create good KPIs? Let's say that web agency's one metric that matters is number of new websites delivered per quarter. That somehow makes sense. One web agency that can be a good KPI to have more new websites delivered. And to build as many websites as possible while still maintaining quality, web agency needs to balance their core ads from their balanced scorecard. That will take us to one or two decisions. They may make the decision that the delivery of websites is more important than profit. So they will sacrifice part of the profit to reach the goal and deliver everything on time. And from the customer side, clients will have their orders. The clients have their orders made, and they're waiting for their delivery. So the longer it takes, less excited and more likely they will cancel. So keeping clients happy is extremely important. So we are bringing decision here that we are probably sacrifice part of our product to make this KPI happen and to keep our customers happy and the quality on the same level. What else? Now that we have set some objective KPIs, we need to set key results. Let's say that one key result for clients is a standard measure in supply chains. An example could be deliver performance is set at 95% measure as the fulfillment of a customer promised delivery date, which means that 95% of your customers will receive website in a delivery date. That can be set as objective to reach the KPI. Another thing you need to use is KPI dashboard, which is actually all of us are using for this or that, like spreadsheets, Asana, Jira, Trello. All of this is needed to monitor actually the key results, and whichever dashboard of these you're using often provide at a glance views of KPIs relevant to a particular objective or business process. Me personally, my favorite is Jira because you can use it as well for sprints, so you can chunk down your KPIs and goals into tasks. Then those tasks you can chunk into smaller tasks, and then those tasks you can chunk down to subtasks. And then all of that can be estimated how many hours is needed for something, and you can use some modern agile framework like I don't know to track the progress for in sprints of those deliverables you need to fulfill in project manager decides. But in that way, we'll actually track the smallest piece of actions needed to achieve goal and achieve that. This is a lot of my talks are like quite focused on people and humans. From I think WordCamp in Athens, I already talked about how to hire and how to get hired. So very rarely talk about some technical stuff. And for me, the people is all your employees are always the most valuable asset in your company, and there are no technical skills and soft skills. Those are technical skills and being a human. It's simple as that. There is no such a thing as soft skills. Either you're a good person and you're a good human, or you're not. I'm not speaking about the people who are introvert, less eager to talk to with other colleagues, etc. But it doesn't mean that they're bad people. So it's important to have a team structure in that way that they have technical knowledge, but very, very important is to have people not with soft skills, but people with human skills and humanity inside. So also these KPIs are really important because they can ruin those people or they can make them better. To build a better team, first we'll go with unlocking the power of employee engagement, which is always important thing. People like to be a part of the group. Like from when you're a kid, if you are a boy, you will try to enter some football team or to be a part of some group of boys in your neighborhood doing something with a similar interest as you do. So engaging people in your company is actually making them feel like every human being likes to feel appreciated and a part of the group. If you ask any employee why they don't feel engaged at work, and you'll probably get some variation on the same theme. They feel disconnected from the organization's larger purpose because they don't have a clue what is it. They fail to see any impact their daily efforts and activities, which occupy most of their time, have on larger organizational goals. This can be also affected with imposter syndrome. So it doesn't have to be true every time, but very often it is. And they don't understand the strategic direction of the organization because they feel they're too small and no one is getting them involved in something more important. And getting them involved to Big Rock and KPI, the most important thing for the company that year, will make them. How we can use KPIs. First of all, KPIs will pull attention because they will know what is there. The second thing, they help connect employees with organization-wide goals. So they know where the company is. And by doing all of this, they will more effectively reach those key goals. If they understand everything, if they were involved in everything, they ask if something is realistic or not. Number is deciding on KPIs can take your employee engagement next level. How? First, it starts a debate about strategy, getting them involved into debate about something that is really important for the company. So they feel like they are part of a team and they have that feeling of belonging to a group. It helps to establish how KPIs connect to strategic goals, which actually connects that employee on, let's say, the lowest entry level in the company and people on the C level. Because that debate and that communication will establish that KPI connects to strategic goals. It engages employees directly. It's not like they're just there to give them tasks and they're just there to execute something. They're also there to decide on something. And the worst thing, actually, the big companies are doing is most of the companies are rewarding wrong employees based KPIs. What we need to reward? Firstly, we need to reward efforts. On second place, we need to reward consistency. And on third place, we need to reward loyalty. This is the worst example. This is Team A. And as you can see, Team A reached the goal. But during the time frame of 1 year, they were procrastinating, slacking, then they had some boost, but actually they didn't know what they were doing. By the diagram, as you can see it, you see that they actually don't have a clue how they did what they did, because they tried something, then they failed, then they tried, then something got great about their idea, so they have some great boost, then again they have, so they didn't have consistency, they were not building the team, they didn't know what they're doing. And more or less, you see that it's really sloppy sloppy job they did in a year, but they are rewarded for reaching a goal. Yeah, kudos for them. And here you can see the example of a great team. They were not rewarded because they didn't reach a goal, but they had a steady growth and they were building up KPI. They knew what they were doing. They were on the track the whole year, but at the end, they were not on the line of the goal in the right moment, and that is the end of the year. If you see this example, so they will be probably not rewarded for didn't reaching their goal, but the next year they will reach goal very soon, and they will be above that goal the whole year because they know what they're doing. And the other team will still have ups and downs, losing time, probably a lot of procrastination and slacking. And then again, probably that other team will be rewarded again for reaching a goal. But the team who is actually maintaining consistency, they're loyal because you see that they are not procrastinating, they are not slacking, they're working towards the goal, but they will never be rewarded. So this is the really important thing to be changed in the future. I spent my 31 minutes of my presentation, so we have some time for questions and answers. If you forget, my name is Aleksandar Savkovic. I am WordPress Community Manager at Cloudways. Και ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Παρακαλούμε. You're very welcome, Alexander, and thank you for the presentations you just gave. And I think everybody always relates when we talk about the human aspect in business relations, right? So a question that I would like to ask is, do you have any tips or insights on how does a company increase employee engagement in practice? I mean, it's a good idea, but how do we do that?
Yeah, what Cloudways is doing in a really great way, and I was really surprised that the big company is doing it good. You know how we set KPIs? We have a spreadsheet where we set our personal goals for the next quarter. And we should see if those goals are somehow matching the end result for the whole team, and then the whole team, if contribution of the whole team will be enough to contribute to that global KPI of the whole company. But it's on us to set those personal KPIs. No one is giving us like you need to provide 50 community answers, you need to answer this, you need to do this, you need to do 35 of this, you need to power blog posts. No, you say like, I think that I can speak in 4 conferences, I can prepare 2 blog posts, I can do this, I can do that. And then we see how we will, is it enough actually to contribute to that? If it's not, we will probably adjust it a bit together in a meeting, but it's always together. It's not like you will do that.
So the team participates on the decision making a little bit?
Yep, a lot, not a little bit.
Okay, I like this idea.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard, especially for Western companies. It's completely different culture from cloud, as an example, because Western companies have that a bit colder point of view of everything. Like someone set some number, and then the rest of you actually need to provide your work and everything to make that number. But in with the Cloudways and in this company, it was quite similar in an RTI. I admit that we had a bit of about our personal goals and KPIs. So they did it also really good job. But those are nations.
And
It's a bit different than those.
Okay. Do you find that in the WordPress ecosystem, companies are closer to this more progressive view?
I don't think so. Smaller ones probably yes, with smaller teams, and like that there is not that huge number of huge companies in WordPress ecosystems. If you're counting like hostings, it's not like they're hosting everything. Only those companies can be huge, but team developers like Elementor or that kind of companies, like page builders, which have 3, 4, 500 employees, we can say those companies are big, but not on that level like huge companies and enterprise or something, or like mid-size. So in those companies, yes, probably.
I see. We have a question from Konstantinos. Based on your experience, Alexander, should KPIs be shared with the team, at least the performance KPIs? Because sometimes sharing a missed goal, for example, might actually push the morale of the team further down.
Yeah, nice questions. Nice question, Constantino. Bravo. I think that actually in every company, everything should be extremely transparent. And when I say extremely, it's so transparent that everyone should know everything. We had one rule in Managed WP, like it was Devana Technologies, company in Serbia, and one of the products was Managed WP. We even had a spreadsheet with all costs and all incomes everyone had access to. So we knew when our CEO traveled to Berlin to a meeting, what he ate, how much he paid for lunch, how much he paid for hotel, how much he paid for taxi. If I gave a talk on some conference, everyone knew how much my plane ticket cost, how much Airbnb cost, and everything. So transparency on every level is something that I'm supporting 1 million. So don't hide anything from your employees because it will cost you.
Great. I see our audience approves based on the reactions. Okay, I think we have one last question we can address. Ellie asks, in most companies, people hand down money on numbers as a KPI. How can we shift that mentality?
Well, that's not bad actually. That is not bad, but I like a lot Simon Sinek, and Simon Sinek has one great talk that, and he said once, you cannot set the goal for the company to be a growth. Of course, it's growth; it's not bankruptcy. So Ellie, you're right about that. That it shouldn't be money. That it should be some higher cause or higher goal. But it has to be numbers. The KPI has to be measurable in numbers. But those numbers does not have to be the money. As I have had in the presentation, it can be the number of web agency can have a KPI like the number of websites delivered this year. But it has to be the number. It has to be something measurable for the KPI. Otherwise, it's not KPI.
All right, thank you very much. So, with this last question, we will close our current session. Thank you very, very much for your presentation and for the questions you answered, Aleksandar. Let's hope we will meet again sometime soon and even close.
I hope. Thank you for being such a great host.
Same
and
to
have
you.
a great rest of the day and great speakers. And let's meet somewhere like here, probably, if not earlier. But I really hope, trust me, I'm always positive. I hope that WordCamp Thessaloniki will happen in December this year.
Let's hope.
Live one.
We'll keep our fingers crossed for the best.
But it's only a hope. It's only a hope.
Let's close with a positive idea. Thank you very much, and we will meet the rest of the attendees in our next session in a couple of minutes. Thank you very much.